Okay, so we're late already. Afternoon, Yella. Are you well? Did you sleep well? Okay. Are you staying in hostel? Okay. Are all of you from where? Boshoff? You from Ladybrand? Okay. And something else? Boshoff, Ladybrand? Welkom. Okay. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome for welcome. Welcome for welcome. Whatever. Okay, I'm glad that you are here. Okay. I hope you did activity 1 and 2. You have the memos in your pack as well. So please, you are here now. You've set time aside, you're away from home, you with your friends, you're enjoying your time, but you are here now, so you must make the most of the time that you are here. I always tell my matrics, you have like 3 months holiday after November. So it's the time for you now to work hard. Now, you can have time to enjoy yourselves later on. Okay, so while you are in the moment, let's make use of the moment. Be in the moment. Nah? Okay, so I'm going to have a look on page 10, example 3. I just would like to finish that. Okay, so let's have a look at example 3. Yesterday I said when we do this work, you are going to get a share capital note. And if they don't ask you to do share capital as such, can we please get speed? Okay, so if you're not going to do the share capital as such, you are going to need the information that you will find in the share capital note. So it's very important that you do the share capital note. Now, the 2 examples that we did yesterday was not that difficult. So example 3, the 2 examples of yesterday was actually very much straightforward. But example 3 is now where there's a little bit of missing information. Okay, now remember yesterday I said, when you do the share capital note, then you must write your framework. Now, the only framework that you can actually write is the balance at the beginning of the year, the amount of shares at the beginning of the year. And I think I'm standing in the way. Okay, the balances at the beginning of the year and then the balances at the end of the year. The other amounts you will get as we go on with the information. And remember, we said it must be in sequence. Nah, the buying back and the issuing of new shares must be in time sequence as it took place. Okay. Good. So let's then have a look at example 3, what it says. So example 3 on page 10 says, there's the solution. Let's start at the example, page 9. Okay, so GG Limited has 120,000 ordinary shares authorized. The company's accounting period ends on the last day of February every year. And then on the 1st of March, 75,000 shares were already in issue. So with a question like this, you start and you write all of the information that you can. As you go along, you're going to see how you can fill up the other information. Okay, good. So we have 75,000 shares at the beginning. So that will be my first sentence that I'm going to write there. So we have 75,000 ordinary shares. And we write everything that we can. Please say if you cannot see or if you have a question. Okay, then the next information that I see that I can use is they gave us the amounts. So they say ordinary share capital is 720,000. So we can write that amount in as well, 720,000. Okay, the next information that they give us is the balance of the ordinary share capital account on the 28th of February is 925,000. So quickly think for yourself, what balance will that be? Think for yourself, yes. Where will you write this one? It will be our balance in the end. Now, so it's this 925,000 that you can write there. And then they give us the transactions. Okay. So they say the company offered a further 35,000 shares to the public with 15 September as the closing date for applications. Okay, so those are our extra shares. So they say it's 35,000 shares, but you can see they don't give us a price, and that gives us the idea that we will have to work back. They already gave you the closing balance, and you have the opening balance. So they're still going to give you enough information for a third one, and then the fourth one you can most then calculate yourselves. Now, okay. Can you see if you complete the information as you go along, you can then see you can then see the way to find the other information. Okay. I just want to encourage you. You are in matric. You are working towards your end results. I said yesterday, your matric certificate is the one thing that's going to go with you forever. So you are here now, especially that young lady at the back. You are here now. You took, okay, yeah, I am. You took time to be here. Be in the moment and do the work. You are here. You can just as well work with us. Okay, so take out your calculator, take out your pen and paper, and then you work with us. Use your time. The information is just not just going to jump into your head. You have to actively work towards it. Okay, nothing in life just happens. We have to work for things. Okay, good. So as we complete the information, you can see how you're going to find what you need. Okay, then they say with the transactions, we've issued extra shares. Let's quickly have a look at the dividend. Here they say declare and paid an interim dividend of 30 cents on all issued shares. So when you calculate the dividend now, on how many shares are you going to calculate the dividend? How many shares do we have? 105,000 now. So when I calculate the dividend for this one, I am then going to say, no, wait. Yeah, it's 15 September. Okay, let's wait with that dividend. So I'll explain to you now why I'm waiting with that. Okay, then let's have a look at 15 September. Applications together with the payments due were received for 35,000 shares, and all the shares were allocated. Okay, then that is on the 15th of September, this extra shares that we are issuing. So I'll gladly continue. Are you fine? Are you done? No, not you. You are fine. Okay, then applications together with the payments were received. Then they say on the 1st of November, the directors decided to buy back 10,000 ordinary shares at R12.50 each. The money was transferred to the shareholder. Okay, when we do buy back, then what must we immediately remember? What must we do? We must calculate average shares. Okay, and yesterday we said, how do we calculate average shares? Here we have our buying back. So when I do my buying back, I take all the previous rand values and all the previous share values, and I'm going to divide it by one another. Okay, but now I don't have this value. So now it's not possible for me to add this and to add that and to do the division. Nah. Okay, good. So we will find another way how to do that. Okay, then they bought back 10,000 shares at R12.50, so we can write out 10,000 there so long. And then the other information that they give us is just for the profit and loss. Okay, now this is all the information that was possible for you to complete. Okay, we still need to get this average price. I quickly repeat what we said yesterday. If you have to calculate the average price, you're going to take the previous two values, add that, with the previous two values add, and then you're going to divide. Now they did not give us that. Okay, is it possible for us to get this value? It is possible for us. So we take the 75 plus the 35 minus the 10, and I think that gives us 100,000. Okay, so just by completing all of the information that they gave us, you already now have a few marks already. Okay, now if we have this, and please remember this, we say it often in the class, and then when you write exam, you forget that. If your last transaction was buying back, so what we mean by last transaction, you can issue extra shares and you can buy back. If your last transaction was buying back, then this is also your average price. So if that transaction was the last transaction, the buying back, then this is also your average price. Okay, so that one is then also your average price. So let's quickly test this. If you can please go back to example 2. Let's quickly have a look at example 2 on page 8. On page 8, we see there our last transaction was buying back. Now, so I say, if your last transaction is buying back, then this is also your average price. So quickly take the 810,000, divide by the 90,000, and see if you get a 9 rand. Yes, no? Okay. So often in the exam, they're not going to give you that one, but then they will give you this one. And then that is also your average price. So let's go back to example 3. You have the example, the answer in your books, but I'm doing it here. So let's take, for the average price, let's take 925,000 divide by the 100,000. And then you're supposed to get the 9.25 rand, right? Okay, so our average price is then 9 rand. Apologies, 9.25 rand. So our average price here is 9.25 rand. Okay, now we can get the rand value. So we take 9.25 rand times 10,000. And that should give you 92,500. Thank you. Thank you. And then you can get that value. So hopefully in matric, you know now how to get that value. So you start with your answer, and when you work back, you do the opposite. Now, okay, so you will take 925,000 plus 92,500 minus 720,000. Okay, and in doing that, you should then get 297,500. Do you get that? Okay, 297,500. Okay, so that one is example 3. So let's quickly remember, to get the average price, you take the previous amounts, rand values, add them, divide them by the previous shares to get the average price. If they don't give you that, then most probably your last transaction is going to be a buyback, and then most probably they would have given you these values or a way to calculate the values so that you can get your average price. And then this is your average price. Okay, for how much are we buying the shares back? If you quickly look in your information, how much are we buying it back for? 12.50 rand. Now, do you see where I get that information from? I'm buying it back for 12.50 rand. Okay, so my buyback here is then 12.50 rand. That will go to my cash flow statement, and then the difference goes to retained income. Okay, and the difference is then 3.25 rand, and that you will write in your retained income note. 3.25 rand in retained income. And what do I mean by retained income? in the retained income note. So in your retained income note, there you use the R3.25. Okay. Retained income is one of the notes that you can learn by heart. Share capital, you must first look how the sequence went of the transactions, but retained income is always like this. And remember, this one is net profit after tax because retained is after I've paid everything. Okay, that's why. Good. And then I just want to show you in the cash flow statement, where will we use this amount? Now, in this June exam that you wrote, what I want to say is you must be very careful in your reading to see what information is it that they're giving you. Are they giving you the average price? Are they giving the buyback price? Or sometimes the difference. In one of the exam papers, they said the directors bought back shares at R3.25 above the average price. So now they are giving you this one now. In your June exam, they gave you the average price. When you had to do the cash flow statement, they gave you the average price. And then you had to go and calculate the amount that you will use in the cash flow statement. Okay, so let me just show you in the cash flow statement. What do I mean? Where will you write that? So in your cash flow statement in investing activities, or financing activities, there in the financing activities, you can have there the proceeds from shares issued, and then you can have the buying back of shares, and then the two loans. So if it is that you are buying back shares, then the amount that you will use here is then that R12.50 times the 10,000. So that is what I mean when I say we use this in the cash flow statement. Okay, good. So you did activity 1 and 2. The memo is also in your guide. So please, if there are problems with that, please come ask me. You are more than welcome. I will be at the class tomorrow earlier. So if you have questions, you're more than welcome to ask. Okay, let's quickly have a look on page 11. There's important information that I want you to take note of. Let's quickly think of the dividends. Let's think before we look in our books. Let's quickly think of the dividends. We said yesterday, with the issuing of the new shares and the buying back of the shares, when should you take those shareholders into account when we do the dividends? Okay, so let's quickly think when I issue extra shares. When I issue extra shares, it means it is new shareholders, no? Okay, so when I issue extra shares, let's say today, what is the date? Let's take a date, the 1st of January, I'm issuing extra shares. On this 1st of January, I'm also declaring a dividend. Do you think this extra shareholders, on today they buy their shares, on today, should they get a dividend? No, they are only becoming part of the company now, on today. So their money was not helping the company to generate profits. No, so they will not get a dividend. Okay, let's have a look at the buying back of the shares. It is the 1st of January and we are declaring a dividend. If I buy back shares on this 1st of January, so this person, I'm buying back from a person, he's not going to have his shares anymore. Should he get a dividend today? Yes, because he was still part of the whole year, he was part. So if I buy back on the same day that I declare dividend, then those people must still get a dividend because they were part of the financial year. Okay. If I issue new shares on the same day that I declare the dividend, should they get a dividend? No, because they were not part of it. No? Okay. So on page 11, there's just a summary explaining that, but it's always good for us if we understand it ourselves. So if new shares were issued before we declare the dividend, so in January this person bought shares and in February we declare a dividend. Can they get a dividend? Yes. So if we sell shares, new shares, before we declare the dividend, they were part of the process, so they can get their dividend. Let's take the buyback. If I buy back shares in January and I declare the dividend in February, can those people get a dividend? No, because they're not shareholders anymore. No. Okay, good. So there's the buying back. When shares were bought before we declare a dividend, then they should not get a dividend. If shares were issued before the dividend issues, new shares, then they should get the dividend because they're part of the company. Okay, let's take new shares on the same day. If I issue new shares on the same day that I declare the dividend, so the 1st of January I give a dividend, the 1st of January I'm selling new shares. Must they get a dividend? No, they were not part. If I issue new shares, if I buy back shares on the same day, so the 1st of January I'm declaring a dividend, on the 1st of January I'm buying back your shares. Must you get a dividend? Yes, because you were part of the whole process up to the 1st of January. So then you can get a share. So if I buy back on the same day, then those people must still get dividends because they were part of the process. Okay, but as I say, accounting we must understand. So hopefully you must rather try to understand this. Okay, so I made you just a little short note for you. If we take my transaction buying back of shares or issuing of new shares before the dividend, if I issue new shares before I declare a dividend, then they must get a dividend. If I buy back shares before I declare the dividend, then they should not get because they were not bought. If I do it on the same day, then if I issue new shares on the same day that I declare the dividend, then they don't get shares. And if I buy back shares on the same day that I declare a dividend, then they do get shares because they were still part of the process. Okay, then if we look on page 11, number 5, you can just make a note for yourself there. Number 5 is similar to example 2 that we did. And number 6 is similar to example 1 that we did. Okay, so please then go do activity 1 and 2 this afternoon or tonight. And then you are more than welcome to ask questions. Okay, the next thing that we're going to look at is when they give you a profit and income tax. Okay, so let's quickly look at our statement of comprehensive income on page 12, our income tax. So if we look at the statement of comprehensive income, at the very end of your statement ends with this: net profit before tax, then we calculate income tax, and then we have net profit after tax. Now, very often now, I'm on page 12, they will give you this amount, the net profit after tax, and then they will say that the income tax is 30%. Okay, and they don't give you any more information. Now, this is actually a math calculation. Okay, good. So they give you the net profit after tax, and they tell you the percentage of the income tax. So they will give you those two informations. Okay, but fortunately in matric, we must now know the moment that I see percentages, then I know I'm working with 100. Now, a percentage equals 100. Okay, so what we then do is we say our net profit before tax, we put that equal to 100%. That will represent 100%. Your income tax is 30%. They gave you that. And then your net profit after tax will be 70 because I take profit before tax minus tax to give me profit after tax. So if that one is 100% and that one is 30, then this one must be 70. Meaning the amount that I give you equals 70%. You often want to get the 30%, you want the income tax, or you want the profit before tax. In your cash flow statement, in note number 1, where you have to do net profit before tax, remember we said yesterday now, then most often in your cash flow statement, they give you the information like this. But when you do the cash flow statement, you actually need this amount. Okay, so I hope in matric you know this. So when I work with percentages, then I always take the amount that they gave me. I'm somewhere going to write it here. The amount that they gave you times the percentage that you want over the percentage that you have. When you are doing VAT, when you're going back now and you haven't done VAT yet, you're going to use this formula very often in the VAT as well. So you take the amount that they give you, multiply by the percentage that you want, divide by the percentage that you have. Okay, so in this example, the amount that they gave you will then be this amount, which is obvious. And then we want the amount before tax. Normally when we do the cash flow statement, we want the amount before tax. So I want the 100. So I will multiply by 100, and then half means this, half the percentage where I have an amount. Here is where I have an amount. So I want that percentage, I want this amount, so I multiply by 100, and I have this amount, I have this 70%. So in this case, if I want to get the amount, the net profit before tax, which you will use in your cash flow statement, you will multiply by 100. You will multiply by 100 because that's what you need, and you will divide by 70. So multiply by 100, divide by 70. That's most what that means. If you want the income tax, you want that one, you want the 30, you have the 70. So if you want the income tax, you will then multiply by 30 because that's what you want, and you have the 70, divide by 70. Okay, but hopefully you can do this. As I say, you often have to use this when you do your cash flow statement because you need that amount, and they often give you this information, and you will need it when you do VAT. Okay, then the next part is to calculate the correct net profit. Okay, so what they will also sometimes do, they give you a net profit, and then they say the net profit was calculated incorrectly. You must still take the following adjustments into account. Okay, so when you do that, you must now just focus on what each transaction is doing to your net profit. Okay, so it is more than just doing the adjustment. You must now think, okay, what is now going to happen with my net profit? So the only things that you have to focus on here are incomes or expenses. Incomes will make your profit more, obviously. Expenses will make it less. No. And then income that you've received too much will make your profit less because you must make your income smaller. And an expense that you did not pay enough of, an accrued expense, will make your profit smaller because you have to increase your expense. Okay, so take out your calculators, then we can somewhat quickly do the example on page 12. So they say the following information relates to Predana Limited, a company with an authorized share capital of so many shares. Calculate the correct net profit after tax for the year ended. Indicate or a plus or a minus or brackets for a decrease and an increase. Okay, then they give us some information. Good, the adjustments. The net profit of so much was determined before taking into account the following information. Okay, so remember, we are thinking profit. All of these transactions, how will it influence my profit? Okay, Trading stock on the 30th of June was valued at 191,900. Okay, so let's quickly do a little bit of revision with this as well. What is happening here? In your books, you keep record of your trading stock, and when you calculate the balance of that trading stock account, that balance should be the same as the profit, as the stock that you count, that you physical count. Remember, part of internal control is to do a physical stock take once a year at least. So when you physically count your stock, the amount of stock that you get should be the same as the balance in your trading stock account. The balance in your trading stock account is the written figures, but it must correlate with the actual figures, what you are counting. Okay, so what is happening here is we counted our stock and we saw that it was 191,900. Okay, we must compare this now with the amount in our books. So in our books, we see it is 203,200, meaning there's less stock on my floor and in my storeroom than what I think there should be. Okay, so this is, you know what this is now? Trading stock deficit. Trading stock deficit. What will a deficit do to my profit? Is it good or bad for my profit? It's bad. So this amount will be minus from the profit that I have. Okay, good. And how do we get the amount of the deficit? We take what we've counted, the difference between what we've counted and what our books say. So we take the 203,200 minus the 191,900. And then you should get the expense of 11,300, and this will decrease my profit. Okay, provision for bad debt. Provision for bad debt must be adjusted to 9,000. Okay, so we have a look. How much is our provision for bad debt? 11,400. Let's quickly understand provision for bad debt. We are making provision for the fact that some of our debtors are not going to pay us. Can you quickly think of the GARP principle that is applicable here? When I think that something is not going to work out well, this is the prudence principle. So the prudence principle says rather plan for a bad act, for something, rather plan for the negative. Okay, so here we say we think that the debtors that's not going to be paying us will be 11,400, but after we did all of our figures, we say, okay, it's not going to be that bad. Only 9,000 of them are not going to pay us. So we have to make this expense smaller. Provision for bad debt is a negative. It's a negative for our business, and we have to make it smaller. So what will happen with my profit then? If I make a negative in my business smaller, then my profit will increase. No? Okay, and we must make it smaller with a difference. So my profit will then increase with 2,400. Okay, rent for June had been received in advance. So this is an income that I already recorded, but I recorded too much income. I should not record the rent for the next financial year. So I must make my income smaller. So what's going to happen with my profit? I must make my profit smaller. So my rent income must be decreased from my profit. Okay, then the insurance. An annual insurance premium was paid for the period the 1st of April to the 31st of March. Annual always means that it is for 12 months. Nah? So quickly on your calculator, see if you can get the amount. Don't look in the solution. So annual means it was for 12 months. So we take 6,000 divided by 12 to see what it is for 1 month. And then for how many months did we receive too much? For 1 month, because we ended on the 28th of February. Okay, so my insurance, I minus too much. My expense was too big. I'm making my expense smaller. So what's going to happen with my profit? My profit will increase. And we don't agree with the amount, do we? Did you only get the 500? Okay, let's quickly write our financial year. Oh, our financial year is the 30th of June. So our financial year, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. And they say we've paid to the 31st of March. So we only had to pay until July. So we also paid for August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So we paid for 9 months too much. So divide by 12 because they say it's an annual premium. And then it was 9 months that we paid too much, times 9. Okay, so we must make our expense smaller. And when I make my expense smaller, what happens with my profit? It becomes small. Okay, then the auditor discovered that the profit on the sale of a vehicle was incorrectly shown as a loss. Okay, goed, so I minused a 6,800. Was I supposed to minus it? Was it supposed to be an expense? No, it was supposed to be an income. Okay, so I minused it, so how can I correct it? I must add, no. And when I add it, am I going to correct my mistake? Am I going to? Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, I'm now going to let's take an easy so that it works out, 6,800. Let's say my profit was 16,800 now. I had to add the profit because it was profit on sale of asset. I had to add a 6,800. Do you agree? Okay, so my profit was now supposed to be, what's that, 12? My profit is supposed to be 22,600. Do you agree? Do you agree? What? Is it 23? Dankie. 23,600. Thank you. Okay, do you agree with this? Okay, let's see what we did. Our profit is 16,800. Instead of adding, what did we do? We minus 6,800, right? And then how much did we get our profit? 10,000. Okay. Now you say, instead of minusing, I must add. Okay. I add plus 6,800. And what is my profit now? 16,800. Is it right? No, what must I do again? I must add another 6,800. Why? Why must I add twice? Yes? Yeah. Good. This first adding just cancelled out my minus. Okay. So I just cancelled my mistake. And now I must do what I was supposed to do in the first place. Okay. Where will you apply this principle as well? In debtors recon and creditors recon, nah, where you have credited something that you were supposed to debit, or it was a sales transaction and you've minused. So with your recons, you apply the same mistake. So please remember, if you made the opposite mistake, then you must always correct it twice, because the one just cancels out the opposite and the next one do what it was supposed to do in the first place. Will you get something like this? I think you can get something like this. So make a little note of for yourself there. So when you make an opposite mistake, remember that you have to correct it twice. Okay, and then you calculate the correct net profit before tax, and you calculate your income tax, and you can get the profit after tax. Okay, I told you yesterday, you must remember this hour after you ate. Do you feel how your body feels? In this hour, we sometimes mark your exam script. Okay, so you must please make sure when you answer your answers, all of your subjects, write neatly, present a good answer book, because some of your examiners are going to mark your scripts in this hour of the day. Okay, but they've been thoroughly moderated. Our marking process is very good. Okay, let's quickly have a look at activity 3, please. In your books, you have an answer sheet for activity 3. Let's quickly have a look there. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. You don't have to calculate the amounts. Quickly have a look at activity 3 and see whether you know whether you should add or subtract the amount. Can I assist in getting you to activity 3? It's on page A4. No. A5. Okay, let's quickly have a look at A5. Let me quickly give you 5 minutes. Write there plus or minus just to see whether you will add or subtract that amount. Okay, since we are not that many today in the class, can we quickly play a little game? Come, you are tired, let's quickly play a little game. So please have your fingers in front of you so that your friend doesn't see your fingers. Go. Okay, so when we're going to read the transaction and then you're going to decide, is it going to increase the profit or is it going to decrease the profit? And you show me what you think. So is it going to increase the profit or is it going to decrease the profit? Okay, just show, have your fingers here so your friend doesn't have to see you. We're on page A5. Do all of you have the activity? Are your numbers also A5? No. Okay, do all of you have it? Okay, let's quickly have a look there. Okay, so put your fingers in front of your chest. Okay, if you don't play along, then I'm going to think that you can't. Okay, good. Provision for bad debt must be increased by 6,500. Let's quickly think. Provision for bad debts, it's an expense, and I must make my expense bigger. So what's going to happen with my profit? Is my profit going to become smaller or bigger? I must make my expense bigger. So what's going to happen with profit? Good. Okay, the next one. 9,800 of an advertising contract applies to the next financial year. So I already took advertising into account, but it's actually for the next financial year. So what am I going to do with my profit? Am I going to make it bigger or smaller? Let me see. I can't see. Yes, you're right. Okay, but you say, okay, so let's have a look at my expense. Did I make my expense? Is my expense too big or too small? Must I take expenses into account that is for the next financial year? No, I must not now. I will deal with it next year. So here, they say advertising is for the next financial year. Was I supposed to include it? No. What will an expense do? It will minus, but I must take out this expense. So then what's going to happen with my profit? It's going to increase. Good. Next one. A tenant paid rent. This is an income for us. Now, come, let's try. A tenant paid rent for the period the 1st of March to the 31st of March. This is my next financial year. Rent was increased by 3,000 Rand per month on the 1st of January. Tomorrow, I'm going to help you with these adjustments where they increase and decrease. Okay, I'm glad to see. Okay, so this is an income. What does an income do with profit? It makes it more now, okay? But I already recorded some of my income for the next financial year. So what am I going to do with my profit now? Show me. Yes. Quickly show me. Come try. Okay, so what does an income do with my profit? It makes my profit more now. Did I show too much income or too little income? I showed too much. I already showed income for the next financial year. So what must I do with my profit now? I must make my profit smaller. Mooi. Depreciation of so much must still be recorded. Come, all of you must show me this one. It's grade 10 work. What is depreciation? Expense or income? It's an expense. And what does an expense do with profit? It makes it less. Did I record this one? No, I did not record it, so I must still record it. So what must I do with my profit? I must decrease my profit. Mooi. A vehicle with a carrying value of so much was sold for so much. The profit or loss on the vehicle sold must still be recorded. Okay, so what do they want you to do here? You must calculate whether it was a profit or a loss. Nah. So quickly calculate if it's a profit or a loss. Or someone calculate the amount for me, please. This is what my vehicle is worth. This is what I'm selling it for. Am I selling it for more or less? What is the amount, sir? 8,000. Okay. $7,500. Okay. Am I selling my vehicle for more or for less? I'm selling it for more. So profit or loss? Profit. So what will happen with my net profit? With my profit, it will increase. And then a further 43,000 is owed for income tax. Quickly show me. That's say, well done. Income tax is an expense, nah? And I must make my expense bigger because I did not show enough. So my profit will then decrease. Okay, and what I'm just going to take that amount of 43,000. Okay. If I were you, as I said, you are taking time to be here. You could have been at home still sleeping or sleeping again. Okay, so be in the moment. Use this time that you have. Nah. So you can now do up to activity 3 already in your activity books. If I were you, I will do it. Just use the time that you are here. Okay. The last one that we're going to look at for today is loans. Okay, so I will continue with the loans tomorrow. I want you just to go in your books on page 13. And then let's just write a little summary for ourselves with the loans. So I find this little thingy key to do my loan, to get my loan amounts useful. So when I get a loan, I will always start with balance at the beginning. And then what will make my loan more? Interest will make my loan more. What will make my loan less? Good. Repayments. And then I get my balance in the end again. Okay, in your June exam, you got this. Okay, and when we did the memo discussion with all of the teachers, a lot of the learners did not get this right. Okay, you did not get your installment right. Okay, so with a loan, what happens with a loan? Most of the time, they give you the two balances. But you need to get the interest either for the cash flow statement or for the statement of financial position and statement of comprehensive income. And you need to get this repayments also for your statement of financial position. Nah. So most of the time with a loan, they will give you the two balances. They will give you a way to calculate the other one, and then you need the other amount. Okay, Askies, we can sommer write this one in brackets because in accounting brackets is mos minus. So if you have to calculate the amounts for loan, then it will help you if you do this to get your amounts. So again, you will complete what you have and what you can, and then most of the time you will have this answer and you work back to get whatever you need. Okay, another thing that we must understand regarding loans is, and then I'm really done, with the loans, sure, sir, is it difficult? Okay, the other thing with the loans that you must understand is that the current portion of the loan or the short-term part of the loan, the part that you're going to be paying back in the next financial year, In your statement of financial position on page 15, you must calculate this amount that you're going to pay back. And in the June exam, you did this in question 1. So the amount that you're going to pay back, you take it to the current liabilities. Now, if you have this amount wrong, it's fine. You're going to lose your marks there. But please remember, this very same amount must be there as well. And here you will get a method mark. So please don't lose this method mark. It's an easy one. So if you get it wrong there, then at least remember to go write it here. And the reason why we're transferring this is, this part that you must pay back is not a long-term or a non-current anymore. It becomes a current because you have to pay it back within a year, within 12 months. Okay, so we will have a look at the loan transactions tomorrow, and then we're also going to do tomorrow the adjustments. That rent that increased with 10%, or those adjustments, that's sometimes difficult. Okay, are there questions? Okay, thank you. Please do activity 1, 2, 3.